Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel today for another review. Damien and I, today we're diving into our review of the new film, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, which is coming to theaters September 6th. So this is very straightforward to the point here. Obviously, the sequel of the original film, which I can't even believe it's been 35 years.
Years.
Yeah, since the original Tim Burton classic Beetlejuice, which I just recently watched over the weekend. Not just so much in preparation, but just because I just wanted something good to put on television. And coincidentally, I realized that the screening for this was today for us, so it just worked out in the right place, right time. But nonetheless, yeah, I got the poster for it because we did go to the early screening, so got a little bit of swag for that. But nonetheless, yeah, it is the sequel to the original film Beetlejuice. So that's 3 times, so he should appear at this point now.
God no.
I'm gonna read the synopsis because there's a lot that happens in this film, and I just want to make sure that I don't, because this is non-spoiler, but because there's so much that happens in the film, I don't want to give anything away. But after a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Deetz family returns home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. So first thing I want to say with that is there's nothing better than when you get majority of the original cast to return and reprise their roles. So the likes of Michael Keaton returning as Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder returning back as Lydia, Catherine O'Hara as Dahlia. We have newcomer and not just newcomer to the franchise, but like Jenna Ortega is definitely like the next one up in all things Hollywood. She returns as Astrid Deetz, so you have the 3 generations there. Willem Dafoe, who I had no clue was even in this film as this character Wolf. God, Willem is he's just so good in what he does. Monica Bellucci as Dolores now joins this cast as well. But nonetheless, up and down the board, you have a stacked cast and good mix of the returning family and newcomers. But let's just kick it off as we usually do. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Or are you somewhere in the middle with this one?
The first half of this movie had me hating it. I was irritated sitting in my seat while watching the first half of this movie. There were some scenes toward the middle where it starts to pick up where I'm thinking, why is this happening? Why does this feel like it's shoehorned in? And then the thing that saves this movie is Michael Keaton's charisma. When he's on screen, it's Michael Keaton. It's Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they purposely limited his screen time. I believe it was supposedly 19 minutes.
17,
according to Tim Burton. But they maximize the time. We talk about wrestling, right? Maximizing your minutes. He maximized every single minute he was on screen. I couldn't take my eyes off him. And I'm not a jump scare guy. And there were jump scares in this film that caught me off guard, but I didn't mind it because his performance was so captivating that it took this movie from being an F, for me, an F, to a passable grade. So take that.
I enjoyed it right out the gates. I think the moment that the intro drops is instant nostalgia. The opening credits, the theme, it brings you right back to where you were at 35 years ago, or if you just recently watched it on Match like myself. But it brings you right back to where we left off at. And the fact that because this is a Tim Burton's classic, shall I say, it really prides itself on the practical effects. And there's also just really and always this good character work. So yeah, without a doubt, Michael Keaton, you knew exactly what you was going to get for him. I did see the interview where he did say that he was only in it for 17 minutes. It felt so much longer than that because him saying he was in the movie for 17 minutes was because he said, well, I was in the first one very limitedly, so why would I extend that? I feel like that would be a disservice. So first of all, let me just go back and say that's a gaslighting statement because my man was definitely in the first one a lot longer than he's given himself credit for. But that's okay. For the 17 minutes that was in it, he completely maximized it. But like I said, when it comes down to Tim Burton projects, it's always character heavy. Winona Ryder as Lydia, she gives you so much, so quick. Catherine really shines, especially in the second act.
Catherine
and then Willem Dafoe in the third act. I mean, I maybe I'm just biased with Willem, but I don't think he could do no wrong. And
you're right.
The third act in this, he really comes to the point. It's like they built his character up so that he can show off in the third act, and really bring this character Wolf to life. Who I wish I could, I wish I could give so much away, but all I would say about Wolf Jackson is,
he's a riot.
You know,
he's great.
He had a good life before he got to his afterlife, and he's not letting his dreams go to waste, even though he's deceased at the point. Jenna Ortega, man, listen, I'm very high on her, but I will say her performance here definitely fit with what's happening, but you know, she didn't do anything special to really, over the top. But I think she's a great addition. I think that when it comes down to bizarre character work, especially within this genre, I mean, it's an easy casting choice here. Sure. So she fits right in, considering her work with Wednesday, which her work on Wednesday is on a whole nother level. But like, don't expect no Wednesday action in this. Her being third generation here, she doesn't quite get along with her mother Lydia. You know, there's some other family drama and stuff kind of going on that I don't want to give away. But she is essentially like, hey, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in anything that my mom believes in. I don't care about my mom's business. You know, I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm me.
I'm me. I'm trying to figure out my own life, you know, navigating the absence of her dad, and her grandma being there, which I think they got some form of relationship. But at the end of the day, like, this is a young kid who sees the world pretty big, and she's going to figure it out herself, and she's not going to follow in the footsteps of her mother, nor is she on the acceptance side of what her mothers do. So little snappy at the mouth. Definitely has those moments where you're like, oh, that thing got a mouth on her type of action, you know. So, you know, nothing out of the, you know, ordinary.
It was very Lifetime teenage angst, how she portrayed herself with her relationship to her mother. So that's how I looked at it. For Lydia and her, it was more, I hate you, Mom, while still playing Wednesday. You know, to me, at moments, it seems like she was still playing Wednesday, but with teenage angst of the Hallmark Channel. That's how I looked at it.
For me, I will say though, like, along with the practical effects, the one thing that I really loved about this, and this may be biased, is that it still paid homage to going back to what animation and CGI and all that stuff was back in the day. And like, yes, there's not a lot of CGI, but when they had to use it, we're now talking about like the sandworms or whatnot, they said, yeah, I know technology has come along or whatnot. We could obviously make this as crisp or as real as possible, but no, they kept it. They kept the integrity there, and it literally made me pop out of my seat, because that's what I was here for. I wanted the sandworms, but I wanted the sandworms, and I wanted to remember it and see it the way when I first saw it when I was a kid, and as I've just recently saw it. So they make sure that the integrity of what this franchise is and the aesthetic of what this franchise is, they didn't sway away from that at all. So I was very excited for that. And then the humor, man, there's really good dialogue in this film, and if you love puns, you're gonna have an amazing time with it. Like, yes, it's a little raunchy at times, you know. Beetlejuice, he doesn't hold back. Beetlejuice is also, I'll just say that Beetlejuice may have some company from the past coming, and that's going to put him in a different light, but it doesn't stop him and his mouth from yapping. If you may have been able to peek through the trailers, but like, Beetlejuice is clearly in love with Lydia, and then he's going to do whatever he can in order to get her, but ultimately it helps benefit him so he can get back to his shenanigans and his whole motive from the first one. So I love the continuation with that. And then I think the only other thing I would say is there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of villains,
Some unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, some of it felt very jumbled in.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, there's a lot of drama. And I think the more drama, the better when it comes down to that. But when it comes down to the villain work, it just was a lot that was just kind of lackluster. I will say the MVP of the film, and it's not really the MVP, but a particular character that you will fall in love with is Bob.
I was going to say shout out to Bob. I love Bob.
Bob is such a lovable character in the film.
You get connected to a character. Yeah, I know you're not rambling because I got connected to Bob, and I kept saying Bob. I love Bob throughout this movie. So, and someone like me who's also covered the cartoon of Beetlejuice, right? There was a lot of connections to the cartoon as well with the Bob character, that made me remember, oh yeah, this was a good cartoon back in the day, back in the 80s. Yeah. So it just painted a lot of pictures of, like you said earlier, nostalgia. And this is a Tim Burton film to a T, from the macabre visuals to the wonky humor to, like you said, with the sandworms being kind of a throwback, and the character designs being a throwback to the 80s and 90s, which was the idea. I know some people may not like that, but for people like you and I who are a bit of nostalgia buffs, it was great to go back to that to kind of bridge the crossing of the 35-year-old film with this current film. So this was definitely a Tim Burton experience from start to finish.
Yeah. Quickly, last other few things I want to say is that I know that the table scene from the first one is one of the most iconic scenes from it.
Yes.
And I had heard in interviews that folks had promised that there would be something that could possibly top that. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but there's definitely a very fun moment in the third act that really, for all of the elements that you might have loved the table scene from the first one, I think they do a good job in sort of like, being inspired by that, but also having its own thing. So I think there's a particular scene in the church in this one that you will absolutely fall in love with in the same likes that you fell in love with the table scene. In terms of the musical, the shenanigans.
Love it.
I love a good dream sequence is what I would say here. And the score absolutely is a big component. The score and the music is a big component of this film. It makes the music, for everything that you loved about the music in the first one, the music plays a pivotal part in the story and the humor with this one. So they definitely continued that. And I think the last other thing I will say is, the dialogue. I really enjoyed the dialogue. If you love puns, you will have so much laughs and just the shenanigans that goes on just in the dialogue alone. I mean, Catherine has so many good chops in this film.
I loved her.
And I'll be honest, like, Michael Keaton at times can be extremely hard to keep up with in films when it comes down to him getting his chops. I mean, I like to say, like, Will Ferrell is a very unique actor. You get him in some type of satire movie that like he's going to go off the rails and he easily is going to outshine anybody around him. And I think Michael Keaton, who I've said numerous times, is one of the best character actors in all of Hollywood. So when he gets into this character, he's hard to keep up with. But I got to tell you that Catherine and Winona, they shine in this. And I think it goes back to just the chemistry that they've had over the years. They obviously took a lot of pride in returning back into these roles, and they did not disappoint. There's a lot of good moments with all of them together, separately, with other characters. Willem comes in and adds another layer. Justin Theroux as Roy. This is he's a punch him in the face type of character.
Punchable, yes, exactly.
Yeah. But he adds so much to these moments. So like the dialogue and like I'm not gonna pretend like, as I said earlier with Jenna, like she brings this teenage fiery personality that you've seen before, but even that she does well. She's a fantastic actor, and I haven't seen her had a bad outing yet. Like this one wasn't one that topped anything that she's done, but it definitely was still a very good solid outing for her. I mean, it's hard to not like what she does because she does it well. And then there's Bob, who doesn't have to say anything, but this absolutely is great.
Bob's being Bob, and when you watch this film, he's going to be one of those people that tug at your heartstrings in a good way, and you're going to want to root for Bob. Just putting it out there.
There's a lot of scamming in this film, so definitely keep your wallets close because everybody gets scammed. If you ain't getting scammed for your life, or if you ain't getting scammed for products, there's a lot scamming for contracts. There's a lot of scamming in this film. So take a class.
Don't trust nobody.
Don't trust nobody. Yeah, take a class for preventative scamming tactics because there's a lot in it in a fun way. So I enjoyed this film. It was a lot of fun. Definitely for all of the hardcore fans, for folks who's looking for something to watch on the 6th, or for folks that have been waiting for a sequel all these years. I think everybody will be satisfied. Even for the folks who had no clue this was even coming out, I definitely think it's worth going out the way to watch. That's me personally. For you, I leave it on you for your closing thoughts and your assessment if folks should go see this or not.
It's a fun movie if you can stomach the first half, and that's what I'll say. As I said earlier, Michael Keaton kind of saved this movie for me, but definitely Catherine O'Hara and Willem Dafoe in their own individual performances kept me interested not only in the characters but in what's going to happen, throughout the course of the film. I'm giving this, we don't typically throw out letter grades. We normally give out numericals, but I got a C- from it. And I know I may be ruffling some feathers, but the first half was enough to almost put me off this movie entirely, but it brought me back to be interested at the very least. So the performances, if you like these actors and you want to see the vast majority of them in different over-the-top roles, like I said, it's a Tim Burton film, so it's going to be over the top. You'll appreciate it. But if you don't know going into it that that's the kind of style that you're going into, it might lose you early on. And some of the script is disjointed, like we talked about. Some things feel like it was shoehorned in. But I will say, go watch this movie if you like the first one. And if you want a fun popcorn movie, popcorn buckets notwithstanding, go watch this movie. And you should enjoy it. So that's what I think.
There we have it. Well, listen, I have to say that Beetlejuice is definitely a nostalgic ride back to the quirky 80s. And that's having your bread and butter, your cup of tea, you will be completely satisfied. Michael Keaton just delivering an unforgettable electric performance.
Yes.
That still captivates even after all of these years, decades later, he still has it. And you know what? If they want to do a third one, because of the title being called Beetlejuice, it sounds about right that there should be a third one, right? Yeah, it's right there in their hands for them to do so. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, either way, one way or another, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Beetlejuice, did it satisfy? Did it over deliver? Did it disappoint? Let us know once you check it out. It comes to theaters September 6th. In the meantime, we appreciate you all coming through, and we'll see you all back for more reviews and content here at Big O Belt Media very soon.